Welcome to another edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, I'd like to take a moment to thank my subscribers and followers for continuing to help this show grow. We've now eclipsed 1.07 million subscribers on YouTube and, of course, millions more over the last few months on iHeartRadio with the downloads. Can't thank y'all enough for the love and support. Keep it coming, and I'm going to keep on coming. To continue to like and follow the show, just click the bell to get notified for all of our new content, and you too shall be the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. And while you're doing that, make sure to pick up a copy of my New York Times best-selling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes. Once again, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, now in paperback. Just go to straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. Once again, that's straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. Now let's get started with Championship Sunday and the two teams that advanced to the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 59. We'll start in the AFC, where the Chiefs made history as the first back-to-back champion to return to the Super Bowl as Kansas City knocked off Buffalo 32-29. The win marked the first time in NFL playoff history that one team has eliminated the same opponent 4 times in a 5-season span. I walked away from this game feeling sad for Josh Allen. I know the greatness of Patrick Mahomes can't be denied. The greatness of Travis Kelce can't be denied. The greatness of Andy Reid as the head coach, Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, can't be denied. Calling the corner blitz that shot Josh Allen and threw him and had him reeling backwards. I mean, he still threw up what looked like to be a damn Hail Mary for crying out loud, and that guy Kincaid has got to catch that ball. That did not happen. Similar to Mark Andrews dropping a 2-point conversion for Lamar Jackson. It did not happen. So there's some luck, one could say. But in the end, Kansas City just finds a way to win. They've won 9 straight playoff games. 7 have been by 1 score. This team just knows what to do and how to get it done. It's really, really that simple. And I got to give credit where credit is due. But I walked away feeling so sad for Josh Allen. And here's the reason why. The brother balls. It's not like he doesn't show up when he's going up against Kansas City. But no matter what he does, it gets one-upped by something Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City does. You need one play. You need that first down, 4th down, and you get stopped. I thought he had the first down. One official said he did. The other said he did it. They gave it to the other official who was closer to the play, and that was that. But it was a 22-21 game. Buffalo's driving. They get that first down. The likelihood is that they score. And then Kansas City is reeling, and they're in a pinch. And then even if they end up scoring, the fact is then Buffalo would get the ball back, as opposed to this being one of those situations where you're on the defensive side of the ball and you got to stop Patrick Mahomes from getting 2 first downs. It could have changed. It could have been different. But somehow, some way, no matter what way you want to slice it, Buffalo finds a way to fall to Kansas City. And Josh Allen found a way to fall to Patrick Mahomes. And somebody asked me this morning on my day job, so what do we say about Josh Allen at this particular moment in time? And here's what you say about him. He's great. He's fantastic. He just ain't Patrick Mahomes. It's really that simple. But don't listen to just me, ladies and gentlemen. There's somebody that's sitting next to me. Of course, he wants some camera time. He drives up here I've never seen him so dedicated in my life. You know what I'm saying? When I tell him to be here, he's here. I didn't ask him to be here today, but he wanted to be here because, he loves the camera. It's my nephew, Josh. Look what he's wearing. What's up, man? How you doing?
Great. I had a good night last night. My team won.
Your team?
Sporting our jacket.
Your team? Huh? I never saw you with a Kansas City jacket before, and not only that, I never heard you talk about the Chiefs before really until a week ago.
Well, that's because Buffalo had called me out because they beat Baltimore, and now we're here. Mm-hmm.
So you here to rub it in you here to celebrate Kansas City, or you here to rub it in to Bills Mafia and the Buffalo Bills fan? Which one is it?
Well, I'm here to respond to what they posted on their page. Griff, cut to the video. This is me last night.
Don't be rude to people in Buffalo. Josh.
We not finished yet.
What are you doing? 4 degrees.
The city of Josh. We not finished yet.
Now, Josh Allen, I'm all about being a better Josh, so I really can't have him win a whole Super Bowl.
Oh my God. You know the thing that's funny about that though? I can't even knock you for it.
Can't knock me for it.
I can't knock you for it because they did come at you.
Me.
They did come at you. They tried to throw you. For once, I mean, a dead clock is right twice a day. For once, you were right because they did come at you, but you're wrong about this. You're still not the better Josh.
What? How?
You're still not the better Josh.
You just
How
explained.
are you better than Josh Allen? He balled. He balled.
But he lost
he
four
balled.
straight to Patrick. All I'm saying is his name shouldn't be Josh no more. Call him Gosh. Call him Allen, something like that. He can't be. I'm not losing to the same person 4 times in a row, especially if I got the better team in half of those times.
He didn't have the better team. How you know he had the better team? I wouldn't say the Buffalo Bills had the better team.
No time did the Buffalo Bills ever have the better team?
I don't think so.
You remember last year?
Yeah.
When Pat Mahomes had no wide receivers?
Okay.
Or that's what y'all said?
Well,
They
had an elite defense, and they had Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes can neutralize anybody.
And that's all I'm saying. You can't say that about Josh Allen. Or Gosh Allen, I'm sorry.
Gosh Allen.
Number one Josh. They said it. They all in the comment.
Gosh Allen.
Yeah.
Get the camera off him. Get it back on me, please. We don't need to see any more of him right now. In the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles won decisively over the Washington Commanders, 55-23. Both Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts scored 3 touchdowns apiece in a rout of the Commanders. Now, I'm not going to lie. I felt bad for Jaden Daniels as well. He's a rookie, ladies and gentlemen, and he's the one that showed up for Washington. He had 3 turnovers before he threw that meaningless interception near the end. 3 turnovers, all led to touchdowns. Philadelphia Eagles, 7 times in the red zone, 7 scores. I mean, to watch the Commanders, Dan Quinn, defense is supposed to be his signature. That's why he's a head coach of the National Football League. He was the defensive coordinator in Dallas. And then your defense is playing like that yesterday? I mean, it's a damn shit. First play from scrimmage for the Philadelphia Eagles, Saquon Barkley takes it 60 yards to the house, spinning around, shrugging off defenders, flying by them. And then you look at the meetings. The Washington Commanders go up against the Philadelphia Eagles 3 times this season. They gave up 211, 228, and 229 yards. 229 yards being yesterday in the NFC Championship game, with the Eagles rushing for more than 6 yards a carry. That ain't gonna happen in the Super Bowl against Kansas City. But I will tell you this. How the hell you the Washington Commanders and you let that happen? How you let that happen? As for Jalen Hurts, we got to give props where props is due. This is the 2nd Super Bowl in 3 years. And the last time he was against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts threw for over 300 yards. Jalen Hurts had the score tied 35-35 with 5 minutes left before Patrick Mahomes drove them downfield and set up a game-winning field goal for the Kansas City Chiefs with 8 seconds left to win the Super Bowl 38-35. So we got to look at it from that standpoint and understand Jalen Hurts ball, but Jalen Hurts still lost. Just like Josh Allen balled, but he still lost. Just like Lamar Jackson balled against Patrick Mahomes, but still lost. There's a whole bunch of people that show up and they go up against Patrick Mahomes and they do their thing, but it still doesn't end up being good enough. That is what concerns me. I'll bring my nephew back here. What concerns you?
That ruined my perfect weekend.
How was the perfect weekend?
Washington losing.
Okay.
Because that was my pick.
Right. You know I picked both Philly and Kansas City, right?
What?
Yes, I did. Just so you know. I just wanted to throw that out.
It's easy to pick Philly. They playing a rookie.
No. You didn't pick them. You didn't pick Philly.
I picked
you didn't pick. What do you mean it's easy? You didn't pick them.
I picked who I believed in. His team let him down, like you just said.
Okay.
3 fumbles before he even got a chance to be in the game. It was 12-14 or 12-13.
Well, in the third quarter, they were still down by 10.
Eckler tried to get up with one hand, got the ball punched out his hand, and he scored a touchdown. And then the game got out of hand.
It was 34-23 at the end of 3.
Yeah.
With Washington having the ball, and they got outscored 21-0 in the fourth quarter. So for the first 3 quarters, despite what you're saying about Jaden Daniels, he still had a chance.
Yeah, because he had a chance because of him.
Okay. So you have anything to say you want to order?
So I'm trying to say next year, like when y'all be talking of firing coaches and stuff like that, they did 55 points, 60-yard run right at the beginning of the game. And it's a lot.
It's a lot to take. By the way, where'd you watch the game?
Would I watch it?
Where'd you watch it? Yeah, right. What you echoing what I asked for? You heard what the question was. Yeah. Where did you watch the game?
At the chicken box. Never heard of it?
The chicken box. Yeah. Where's it located?
Murdoch, Queens. They be telling me to bring you. I'm gonna bring you by. We gonna go over there.
I don't need to go by there. Huh? I don't want to go any place you are at. I don't want that. I'm not trying to hang out with you. I don't need that problem. I don't need that problem at all. But the chicken box is what it's called. So Murdoch and what?
201st. Right. We could walk there.
Yeah. I ain't walking there.
Yeah, right. But you gonna come though. He gonna come. I'm gonna bring him down.
They got a good chicken.
Yeah, it's great.
Really?
Yep.
You made the video there, and they helped you make the video?
Yeah, it's my people.
They're your people?
Yeah.
Did you pay for the meal?
Nah.
So you got a free meal?
I paid for the drinks, but is it really me paying?
You use my card?
Yeah, it's on my phone now. I don't even need the physical card anymore. I was about to tap a card yesterday.
I'm gonna kick your ass. My guest is an award-winning actor, producer, director, best-selling author, and the host and producer of the hit Fox game show, The Floor. I'm pleased to welcome my buddy, the one and only Rob Lowe, to the show. How are you, Rob? How's everything, man?
I'm very good. It's great to talk to you as always. The week leading up to the Super Bowl, there's nobody I'd rather talk to than you.
I appreciate that. Feelings mutual, my man. Before I get into your hit game show, though, I want to offer my condolences to your family before I do anything else. I understand your brother Chad lost his homes in the Palisades wildfire. How's everything going in that regard, man?
You just can't imagine it. I mean, it's unimaginable what he and all his neighbors, every single one of his friends, he got out with his kids, his wife, their goldfish, their 3 cats, and that's it.
Wow.
So I've given them lots of clothes. I've been housing people, looking for new housing for everybody. It's truly a one day at a time for so many people, and you just never can believe it's ever going to happen to you or your family until it does.
I don't mind tackling the issue of politics or anything else, but I don't expect everybody to be like I am. So I'll ask this question in a general perspective and let you take it wherever you want to go. Whether it's state politicians, whether it's a bureaucracy that's existed for years, whatever the case may be. How do you believe a bunch of Los Angeles and a bunch of Californians are feeling? Could you, pretty much explain for us your mindset and your mentality and that of folks who live out there, how you're feeling right now in light of everything that's transpired and most importantly, how it's been handled?
Well, 100%. And I come with a kind of unique perspective on this, Stephen. I've lived in Southern California since 1976. One of my first memories of moving to Malibu, which has burned many, many times and burned in this fire, was looking up and seeing the gigantic fire roads that were cut into the mountains. They're gone.
Wow.
They haven't cut fire roads into the mountains, and you'd have to ask the policymakers, but they're not there anymore. And, I play a first responder on 911 Lone Star.
That's right.
So I've housed firemen on my property during the last big fire in Santa Barbara. So I know from top to bottom, the culture of decision making around forestry. I don't know the technical terms, but that's been a real problem, and they've screwed it up 100%. And you can just look at it. Where are the fire roads? They're not there. They used to be there. No, we used to ride our bikes on them, BMX on them. They were great.
Yeah.
So, the chickens have come home to roost. On the other side of it, if a fire starts where it did during those winds, it's going to do whatever it wants to do. Really and truly it is. I do know that there were reports of people lighting fireworks off.
Right.
Day in and day out, not day in and day out. I don't want to over exaggerate this. I want to be really careful because what I'm about to say is true. There were people lighting fireworks 4 or 5 times a month, right where that stopped. The Palisades community would report it. The Palisades have 1 policeman.
One?
1.
What?
And when they go one, and when they go to whoever they would go to, I don't want to name names because I don't want to be wrong. City council, I don't know if it's that, but whoever they would go to, they would say, well, you're not a high crime area and our resources are limited. So that one policeman doesn't really, what are they going to do? Go up there and scout out the fireworks?
Right.
New Year's Eve, the fireworks were set off again. It lit off a brush fire of about an acre. They put it out. But the working theory I'm hearing is that it wasn't fully put out, because embers, you have a fireplace, if your fire goes out and you come back and look at it the next day, there's still embers. That maybe those embers blew in the wind. But my point being, Stephen, is at some point when you cut and cut and cut and you change policy and you don't listen to experts, the chickens are going to come home to roost, and they have.
My last question on this subject would be this. We all know the kind of politics the state of California has leaned towards for many, many years. And we see a new president in office and how he came to California, and he went right at the mayor of Los Angeles and Karen Bass. He didn't pull any punches in terms of how he talks about the governor, Gavin Newsom. And for the first time in many, many years, if not my lifetime, I feel a shift taking place where you got Californians that they look like they're sick and tired of this. Like, this was like the last straw as far as I could tell. And it looks like there's the possibility of change coming to the state in that regard. Am I off in saying that?
No, you're not off. I watched the roundtable from start to finish. And, people were being told by the National Guard and FEMA and people like that it would be 18 months to rebuild. That's what they were actually being told. And then the mayor would say something else. So, you saw firsthand the rigmarole and the mumbo jumbo that's going on. And I get it. It's unfolding in real time and people are doing the best that they can. But I think, people are ready for some accountability. And, they're ready to have water in the reservoirs when they need it, frankly.
Yeah, I got you. Let's move on to a more pleasant topic because you've got a hit show. It's The Floor, and I want you to talk about that a little bit. Tell us about it. And for those who are not familiar with it, explain the premise of it all.
So The Floor, Stephen A., Fox gave us the most coveted, other than the Stephen A. Smith empire, the most coveted thing in media is what is on after the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And they gave us that slot. So my show, The Floor, will be right after the Super Bowl, and it's because the gameplay of The Floor, the game itself, The Floor is so addicting that Fox has said, we got to get more, people are going to love it and just become Insta fans. And it's really true. You'll go from watching, America's favorite game to playing the most addicting game that I've come across. I love it. And I love that whether you're 10 years old, 80 years old, male, female, no matter what, everybody loves The Floor. They love playing that damn game at home.
I heard it's filmed in Ireland. Is that true? What Ireland?
Talk about California ready for a change. I sit in the offices at Fox. We look out at all the sound stages. They're 5 feet away, and it's cheaper and more productive to take 100 American contestants and fly to Ireland to do it. That's something about, I don't know much about business, but that can't be very right for a business climate.
That can't. So basically it's in Ireland because it's cheaper than it is to do it in California. Yeah, that is insane.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly it.
Wow. I don't even know what to say about that. How could you feel good if you're the state of California and think it's cheaper to take an entire crew, over 100 people, out of the country to another place than it is to do it right there in their own backyard?
That, by the way, Stephen A., that's the way it is with everything. I'm looking at what my next show is going to be because Lone Star is finishing, and every studio, every network is telling me they will not shoot in Los Angeles. Will not.
Wow. And how does that make you feel, considering that you've been living there since the 70s?
It's outrageous. I mean, this is the one thing, not the one thing, but certainly it's probably America's single best export is entertainment.
Wow.
We do that better than anybody in the world.
You do.
Still.
You do.
And where do we do it? Hollywood. Not anymore. It's Vancouver. It's Budapest. It's Ireland. It's New Mexico. It's Toronto, but it is not Hollywood. And we have had idiots in charge of this, and letting this has slipped away is criminal. Criminal.
Wow. And let's not forget Atlanta. They're in Atlanta too, filming stuff.
In Atlanta?
Absolutely.
Oh, last time I was in Atlanta, Stephen A.,
Yeah.
we couldn't get enough people to work on the crew because there were like, I believe, 67 productions. I'm not making that up, in Atlanta.
Wow. Business is thriving in other places, but not Los Angeles, California, or California, period. Listen, let me put a smile on your face about something in California. The Lakers. They're kind of relevant right now. I mean, they're top 5 seed in the Western Conference right now. About 6 games above 500. I mean, they're not looking so bad right now, Rob.
No.
How are you feeling about it?
Listen, if we'd had this conversation a few weeks ago, it wouldn't have been this conversation.
That's true.
They turned it on. They've got Superman. They've got the ageless wonder. LeBron James. AD's doing his thing. And, I always say as AD goes, so go the Lakers. And they got the kid, the point guard. God, I mean, it's exciting. Exciting times to be a Laker fan.
I was on TV the other day and somebody said to me, what should the Lakers do? And I said, whatever Anthony Davis wants. If Anthony Davis says they need a 5, go get him a 5. Because the way he's balling right now, they go where he'll take them. Because even with LeBron still being great, you need AD to be AD at his best. And he's saying, I need a 5 so I can play my natural position. So now it's up to Rob Pelinka, all right? Your doppelganger, as they say. And then now it's up to Rob Pelinka to go out and get a 5 for the Los Angeles Lakers so AD can be happy. Wouldn't you say that's a good strategy?
It's a great strategy. They need to take a page from my Dodgers and go out and get the best in class.
Yes. By the way, speaking of your Dodgers for a real quick second, you don't have any problem with them buying every damn thing? I mean, you got Shohei Ohtani deferring, most of his $700 million. You got them having everything. I mean, they could buy everybody right now. And there's nothing you could do about it. You don't mind that at all?
No, I don't. and because I'm a fan and I like to win.
Right.
But there's a lot of guys with a lot of money. The Mets could be doing it. I believe it's Mr. Rubenstein of the Orioles could be doing it. They've got every bit as much money. They're not doing it. Why are they not doing it?
Yeah.
So where I do find it tough is, my friends, the Atanasios, own the Brewers.
Okay.
And they don't have that kind of money. The Castellinis own the Reds. I know all these folks.
Right.
And so that's where I feel like, at some point, I actually hope I'm wrong, but I feel like we're working our way to a lockout or something, because at some point it will be untenable.
Yeah.
But it's all within the rules.
It's all within the rules.
But there's going to have to be a change. The Players Association is not going to want that, obviously. They want to get the people paid. So I don't know where it all ends, but the Dodgers are just being smarter and more generous. But hey, man, Stevie Cohen, open up the checkbook.
He is. He is. I don't think he's going to hesitate to. But then again, he's fighting with Pete Alonso. I don't know how that's going to work out.
Unbelievable. Wait, that's unbelievable.
Why is that? Why is that, Rob?
I love the polar bear. I love watching him. There's nothing more exciting in baseball than a pop fly that you're not sure he's going to catch.
Right.
There's nothing. there's nothing. But I love him.
Listen, I like him a lot. I hope he resigns. But there was some slippage last year. I mean, they were a great story in the postseason, like the Cardiac Kids, the way they were so feisty or whatever. But there was some slippage for him, and I don't think that's about him. I think it's about Scott Boras getting in the way, and I think that's problematic. He's got to watch himself. Don't let your agent get in the way of the bottom line when all is said and done. But before I let you go, let me transition to football, because we got a Super Bowl coming up. And I can't let you go without getting your take on this. The Philadelphia Eagles ramrodded the Washington Commanders, and we saw Patrick Mahomes once again pulling out a victory against the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be Kansas City, Philadelphia rematch in the Super Bowl from a couple of years ago. What are your initial thoughts?
I have so many thoughts. I mean, you can't argue with greatness. A lot of people want to hate on greatness. A lot of people get tired of greatness. The refs are in the tank, all whatever the heck. I'm tired of Taylor Swift and whatever. They're great, dude.
Yeah.
And you know what? I went to Arrowhead, I want to say last year. And when you watch these guys up close, it's a whole different thing. There's something about television that does not capture his ability to see with eyes behind his head and just move to the left and extend plays. We should be thankful that we get to watch this kind of greatness. I was bummed for Josh Allen, but you know what? They're not ready. That team ain't ready. They're not ready.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Not ready.
Kincaid, you got to catch that pass. You got to catch that pass.
Catch it.
Just like Mark Andrews for Baltimore. You got to catch that pass. You got to catch that 2-point conversion. It's what you do. You get paid to do this. You can't mess that up. Having said all of that, Philadelphia, Kansas City, you're leaning towards Kansas City?
So I saw Saquon play against the Rams this year.
Yes. When he ran for 226 yards that game. Yep.
I got to see LaDainian during his gigantic season in San Diego back in the day.
It wasn't
and that's what it reminds me. It's just like you just get that energy. You can see every time he touches the ball, you think, oh, he's breaking it to the house. You just kind of know it's going to happen. So I think this is going to be a great Super Bowl. For sure the best two teams are in it.
I think that's what it's going to take for the Eagles to beat Kansas City. Saquon has to have a big game. Even though Jalen Hurts got to play too, it can't be it's in Jalen Hurts' hands against Patrick Mahomes. That ain't going to get it done. Saquon has to demoralize Kansas City and Steve Spagnuolo's defense in order for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl championship. What do you think about that prognostication?
I agree, and I think you go to that first. One of the things I didn't like about Buffalo, I didn't like Buffalo's play calling on first and second down at all. It's like when they finally got into when they needed it, then they started calling the plays I thought they should have been playing all along. So let's not wait till the second half to go, where's Saquon? Let's feed that man the ball from the jump.
New season of The Floor premieres February 9th on Fox, the one and only Rob Lowe. Appreciate you, my man. Always good talking to you. Can't wait to see you. You take it easy, all right?
Thank you. It's great to see you as always.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Coming up, Scottie Pippen is talking about Michael Jordan for some reason, and I'm not the only one wondering why. More on that ahead. But first, Donald Trump bullies Colombia. Pete Hegseth is confirmed as Secretary of Defense despite a myriad of accusations against him. And the attacks on DEI target the Tuskegee Airmen. I'll get into all of that next, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Don't go away. All right, everybody, listen up. With all the big-time sports action that's happening each and every day, NFL games, NBA games, and the college football playoffs, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you are taking advantage of all of it. That's why we've partnered with Prize Picks, the largest fantasy sports platform in all the land, to help you cash in on all your sports knowledge. You see, Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you pick two or more of your favorite players, and then you select more or less on their projected stats for the game. Choose from any of your favorite players, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, all in the same entry. Then sit back and watch. The list is endless. And now with Prize Picks Flex Friday option, you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. That's right. Every Friday, just look for the protected play. So win or your cash back. And get this, Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account during this sports season. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. So download the app today and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. This message is being brought to you by Cologuard, a non-invasive colon cancer screening test. Listen, guys, we need to talk about colon cancer screening for a second. And you know I'm a straight shooter, so I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Colon cancer is considered the most preventable, yet least prevented cancer. It's the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the United States, and it's on a rise in people under 50. But the good news is that when caught at early stages, colon cancer is survivable in 90% of people. So screening and early detection are key to reducing overall colon cancer deaths. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are hearing this and thinking you can tune me out because you're not in your 50s yet. But guess what? The American Cancer Society recommends that if you are at average risk, you begin screening for colon cancer at age 45. And a great way to do that is with the Cologuard test. It's delivered right to your door, and it allows you to collect a sample comfortably at home on your own schedule. We're talking about a screening with zero downtime that's both convenient and affordable. Most insured patients pay $0. The Cologuard test allows you to feel more in control of your colon cancer screening and do it on your own schedule with none of the prep, time off, or an invasive procedure that is required of a colonoscopy. So if you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a Cologuard prescription today at Cologuard.com/podcast. The Cologuard test is intended to screen adults 45 and older at average risk for colorectal cancer. Do not use a Cologuard test if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease, and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colorectal cancer. The Cologuard test is not a replacement for colonoscopies in high-risk patients. Cologuard test performance in adults ages 45 to 49 is estimated based on a large clinical study of patients 50 and older. False positives and false negatives can occur. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Here's the deal. The man was impeached twice. He was convicted on 34 felony counts. And the American people still said, he's closer to normal than what we see.
Exactly.
Left. That's what they're saying. He's closer to normal. Why? Because something that pertains, when you talk about the transgender community, for example, and you're talking about issues that pertain to less than 1% of the population, the Democratic Party came across as if that was a priority more so than the other issues. And so he comes into office. Now you're talking about childbirth, citizenship, and what have you. He knows that's not going to pass the mustard, but he knows that he made that promise. So when he shows up week 1 on Capitol Hill and he says, this is what we're going to do through an executive order, even though it's going to be shot down through the courts and what have you, he's saying, I kept my promise. A lot of other things that he's going to point to that he's going to try to do. I kept my promise. Then you turn around and you look at the left and you say, what promises did you keep? Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. That was a clip from my appearance this past Friday on Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. And that's a perfect spot to begin a look at some quick hitters from Donald Trump's first full week in office. We'll start with Colombia. Did y'all see what happened with the White House and Colombia this weekend? Holding true to his campaign promise, the president began deporting migrants on military planes out of the country. Well, on Sunday, Colombian President Gustavo Petro blocked those U.S. military flights from landing in his country. According to CNN, President Gustavo previously approved the flights into Colombia, but revoked the authorization once the flights were en route. Petro accused the United States of treating Colombian migrants like criminals, and that prompted action from the White House. Trump then ordered steep tariffs on all Colombian imports, a travel ban for Colombian citizens. He called to revoke the visas for Colombian officials in the United States and called to suspend visa processing for both immigrant and non-immigrant visas. A few hours later, the White House said Colombia had agreed to a deal to accept migrant flights, including those on military aircrafts. The White House also said that tariffs would be held off pending its implementation of the deal. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a United States citizen, tell me how you'd have a problem with this. Tell me how you'd have a problem with it. You have a problem with Trump. You have a problem with politicians. You can have a problem with their surrogates. You can have a problem with just the visual of what you see because you see so many people clamoring for times of old. You can have problems, but you can't have a problem with this. In its literal sense, what's going to be your problem? So you have immigrants that are coming over our borders illegally. The president, Donald Trump, after watching nearly 14 million people cross our borders illegally over the last 4 years, said, nah, we ain't having that. And some of y'all, you're going back. You're going back. And when the Colombian president said, hell no, we ain't going for this, similar to what Canada indicated, similar to what Mexico had indicated prior to Trump taking office. The Colombian president tried to take that position, and then the next thing you know, Trump threatened 25% tariffs. So in the end, it's not just about the migrant problem. I'm not talking about that for this particular story. I'm sitting there talking about, don't you feel good if the president of the United States, because we're supposed to be a superpower, right? We're supposed to be the richest nation in the world, right? We're supposed to have all of this influence. We're supposed to have tentacles everywhere. We're supposed to be able to get things done, right? Don't you like seeing somebody ultimately acquiescing to our wishes instead of it being the other way around? Again, we'll learn more as we go along. I'm quite sure there's plenty of things Trump is going to do that we don't like. I'm about to get into a couple of things that I don't like right now. But that particular story, I must admit, it tickled me. I got to admit it. In other words, and then I love the whole visual of the story. It wasn't in the White House. They said the White House administration. That's what I just read to you. What they didn't tell you is that Trump was on the golf course. And while he was on the golf course, he heard about the position of the Colombian president. And they handed him the phone while he was on the golf course. And a couple of hours later, he changed his mind. You gotta like stuff getting done. We've got to be to that point right now. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Let's stop acting like the immigration process is just about folks coming over our borders illegally. It's about the fact that somehow, some way, they've got to be taken care of. It costs to feed folks. It costs to house folks. It costs to make sure clothes are on people's back. It costs to take care of them. And that was coming from the taxpayers' money. That's why you got people in an uproar. It ain't just that folks are in this country. It's that it's costing American taxpayers their dollars. That's the issue. And when we absorb it from that perspective, understanding it from that premise, then all of a sudden if we don't have it already, we've got to develop an open mind about what exactly is going to work and what's not going to work to the benefit of our country. Why do you think you see people complaining about the war between Ukraine and Russia? You know why? Because American taxpayer dollars have gone towards supporting Ukraine. These are the kind of things that provoke emotion from American citizens, particularly in this day and age. Because there's a whole bunch of people suffering right now. And it ain't just one demographic. It's a whole bunch of people. We got to pay attention to this stuff. I got to admit, I looked at the story, and when I heard the Colombian president change his mind, I kind of chuckled. Yeah, when you're the United States of America, that's the kind of effect you're supposed to have. If you are indeed a superpower. Just a thought. Let me get to my next subject. That's Pete Hegseth, the new Secretary of Defense for the United States of America. Hegseth was confirmed in a vote mostly along party lines, with 51 senators voting in favor of him and 50 against. 3 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, broke with the party to oppose the Hegseth nomination. That forced Vice President J.D. Vance to cast the tie-breaking vote. Hegseth was sworn in on Saturday to lead the Department of Defense despite a myriad of allegations against him that included sexual misconduct, public intoxication, and financial mismanagement. Couple of things to get out the way first. Financial mismanagement, okay, sexual misconduct, we've heard those allegations before, and we know who we've heard them about. That would involve the now President of the United States of America, the 47th President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump. So clearly, the standards have been lowered. The standards have been lowered. Because obviously if he's in office, and now Hegseth is in office, it's not something that a vast majority of American citizens, particularly those who voted for Republican, care to discuss or even think about. They're beyond that. Now, a lot of you are going to be out there and you're going to be, lamenting the fact that they didn't care. But that's how it goes. Because you see, all of this kind of stuff has been going on in politics for quite some time. Bill Clinton, he was accused of some things. Liberals didn't care. Okay? All of us cared during the primaries and stuff like that when it happened to Gary Hart, former presidential candidate, or John Edwards, former presidential candidate. On both sides of the aisle, we've seen this kind of stuff all the time. If you think people are going to care to the point where it's going to dissuade them from voting from their candidate in a binary system where you got to choose between one or the other, it's not going to happen. Which brings me again to the Democrats on Capitol Hill during the whole confirmation hearing. If you're Tim Kaine or anybody else, what were you focused on? If you Adam Schiff or somebody else, what were you really, really focused on? You just look at some of these things and some of the fights that you're willing to fight, and you're just wondering, how tone deaf can you be? Because it's not like it's the campaign trail anymore. The president is in office. His selection for Secretary of Defense is Pete Hegseth. And if you don't want him in there, if you don't want him to get confirmed, you know what you do? How about attacking his resume? Because there's no one who can refute that his resume is worth attacking. I am quite sure that he has served this country honorably. You saw soldiers and other military officials in attendance endorsing his confirmation. Obviously, as a soldier who served in Afghanistan, if I remember correctly, along with other places, and has served honorably, his service to our country cannot be denied. So we ain't going there. I'm just talking about his resume, the ability to be a leader of over 3.5 million people in the Defense Department. This is national defense. And this brother's resume involves him being a host on Fox News. By the way, over the weekend, not even during the weekday. I'm on TV more than him. But somehow, some way, that qualified him, in Trump's eyes, to be the Secretary of Defense because of his military background, because of the fact that he's obviously a patriot in their eyes. Should be in all of our eyes because he has served our country. We should feel that way about any of our soldiers who serve honorably, by the way. You combine all of that with the fact that he's loyal to Trump and he spoke out against a lot of what his predecessor, Lloyd Austin, and others were doing with the Defense Department over the last 4 years. You could see what Trump's agenda is. My position is, look, y'all, it is what it is. Look at his resume. If you attacked his resume, there's nothing anybody could say. Because all you're saying to him is that, excuse me, if you were the president of the United States, would you pick you to be the Secretary of Defense if your previous job was hosting a show on the weekends on Fox News? And you had never led a department, let alone one with 3.5 million people answering to you? That should have been the focus. It wasn't. Because you had liberals on Capitol Hill that wanted to bring up financial mismanagement, public intoxication, and allegations of sexual misconduct when his boss has the history or the documented history that's been on the books for years. And you actually thought that was going to work. It's almost like you never learn. Y'all never learn. Let me move on to something more important to me anyway. The Tuskegee Airmen. For those of you who don't know, the Tuskegee Airmen are the 450 black pilots who fought overseas in segregated units during World War II. Their success in combat helped pave the way for President Harry Truman's decision to desegregate the armed forces in 1948. So why are we bringing this up? Because President Trump's ban on diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI initiatives, nearly erased their story from being taught to new trainees in the military. On Saturday, Reuters reported that a video about the Tuskegee Airmen, as well as civilian female pilots trained by the United States military during World War II, were no longer being taught in basic training at Joint Base San Antonio-Lackland, pending a review. Well, on Saturday, the Air Force said the training videos passed a review to ensure compliance with President Trump's ban on DEI initiatives. Really? Ladies and gentlemen, remember when the United States Supreme Court issued a decision outlawing affirmative action in college admissions? You remember that? You remember how conservative activists used the courts and social media to target workplace programs prior to the election? Remember all of that? Pay attention to what's going on. Remember when Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, brought up and challenged that there were actually good things about slavery? And some on the right echoed those sentiments. Remember all of that? Why are all of those things relatable? It's a concerted effort to shove aside history. Even Trump didn't do that in his first term. If I remember correctly, he honored at least one member, one living member from Tuskegee. This is what he did, but suddenly he's in office again, and now he's saying, all right, let's eradicate DEI programs all over the place, and let's not try to teach history. Why is that? We all know when all of this came about, particularly with DEI, much of corporate America endorsed a lot of it, following the protest that accompanied the Minneapolis police killing of George Floyd in 2020. So remember at that time when people were protesting, there were riots in the streets, there were protests all over the place, people were locking arms, and white America was standing up. We want to hear you. We want to listen to you. We want to be sensitive to it because there's a level of sensitivity that we lacked. And it was an opportunity for all of us to come together. But somehow, some way, they put in DEI programs. And although you had several people who were benefiting more from DEI programs or initiatives rather than black people, primarily white women as well, just like they primarily benefited from affirmative action, it was black folks that everybody's talking to. You must have this job because of DEI. You must have this job because you're not qualified. You must have this job because you're being assisted. You're given a one-up. That's why you have people who want the eradication of affirmative action, even from the black community. You have people who feel that way about DEI as well, because we know how competent and how qualified we truly, truly are. We don't want that being in question just because of programs like that. My response to all of that would be, fine, if that's how you feel, let's just not forget what provoked its implementation to begin with. If black folks didn't have to fight for civil rights, it would have never been the need for affirmative action. If they didn't have to fight for equality, it would have never been the need for affirmative action. In the NFL, it would have never been the need for the Rooney Rule if black folks were treated like their white counterparts in the coaching profession of the National Football League. DEI programs wouldn't have been necessary if there wasn't a discrepancy between the black workforce and the white workforce in terms of positions, particularly loftier positions within corporate America. It wouldn't have been necessary. But we want to forget that. We want to erase that. And Trump, as much as you might be turned off by this, is fulfilling a campaign promise because there are constituents out there, a lot of whom, not all, but a lot of whom happen to be white, that are looking at these programs and they're saying that's the latest example of how we're being minimized and pigeonholed and ostracized. Remember when Chris Rock joked about the insurrection January 6th? And he said, you had a bunch of white folks out there trying to overthrow a government that they run. And everybody laughed about it. But didn't it make sense? Show system, show country. You're still a vast majority in this country, the United States of America, even at 57.5%. You're still the majority in this country. But somehow, some way, if you're white, you're feeling like things are being taken from you. And instead of us as black folks making that case and saying, no, that's not necessarily true, or this is why it was necessary, instead you had the attitude, hell with y'all, good for you. And so white folks responded, but not just white folks, others too, responded by saying there needs to be a change. That's why Trump can do this. That's why he can get away with doing this. That's why we can't say a damn thing about it. Because while folks are trying to find their way again, some of us lost ours, especially on the left. This might be foreign to y'all as you sit here watching me speak about black and white. Well, guess what? That's better than having to talk about he or she or they. Notice the difference? One subject affects the dominant majority in this country compared to 13, nearly 14% of the population. The other involved less than 1% of the population. But who was the left focused on? Then you wonder why Trump can get away with this. He can. Because we lost our way. And he's looking like he's somebody that's found a way back for a vast majority of American citizens. I don't feel that way. I'm saying his voters do. And they're speaking louder than anybody right now. And there's nary a damn thing anybody can do about it. Live with that. Yes, left, I'm talking to you. Live with it. Coming up, Why is Scottie Pippen still talking about Michael Jordan? I'll get into that next. Stick around. You're watching Stephen A. Smith Show and listening to it as well over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Back with more in a minute. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Stephen A. Smith. I can't wait until Super Bowl week. Live from New Orleans. The Stephen A. Smith Show will be there all week long, every day of the week. Leading up to Super Bowl 59, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, hell, Taylor Swift against Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and the crew. It's a lot to get into. I personally can't wait. I can't wait. Again, the whole show's gonna be there. Everybody gonna be there. Y'all welcome to come too as well.
Including me? I can go, right? You rich?
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. I want to get to Mr. Scottie Pippen himself, the Chicago Bulls legend who won 6 championships with Michael Jordan. That Scottie Pippen. Well, he's had a lot to say about his former teammate recently, and it hasn't been that flattering. Take a listen.
It's not even worth talking about.
The two of them.
When you ask who's better, LeBron or Michael, you can't ask me who's the GOAT between LeBron and Michael. Neither one of them are GOATs. They both won differently. You can't put them at the top of the pinnacle. Magic Johnson, to me, is a bigger GOAT than anybody because of how he led, how he brought a whole team, how when the greatest scorer in the game, Kareem, was not there, and him as a rookie
Center
steps in and plays a position that no one even knew he could play. That's transcending what you can do as a player.
I'm trying to be nice. I really, really am. But what Scottie Pippen just said was some straight bullshit, especially coming out of his mouth. Before I get into it, however, that soundbite that y'all just saw, courtesy of Patrick Bet-David's podcast, the PBD podcast, which I've been on as a guest. He had Scottie Pippen on as a guest, did a great job interviewing him, by the way. That soundbite raised a few eyebrows, and now other NBA players are coming to Michael Jordan's defense. Most recently was Carmelo Anthony on his podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, this past Friday. Check out what Carmelo Anthony had to say.
Like, you can't do this every time, though, Scotty, my nigga. Like, you done been in the bunker with MJ. You done been in the trenches with this guy. You signed up for the Breakfast Club for 6 years. Like, you was part of that. Don't take that away from the guard now after all of these years where you, whatever feelings you feel about him, like, that is who it is. That's MJ. Like, you know what time it is with that. As far as LeBron goes, leave that man the alone. Like, leave that alone, Scotty. Like, pay homage to Magic, but leave them alone. Is the ghost of our league, man. Those are the three. So whatever issues you have with Bron, like, leave that shit alone, Scotty. Like, Bron ain't even thinking about you. Like, nobody even, like, matter of fact, Bron, this is a situation where Bron need to see Scotty. Because enough is enough.
Like, square up at this point.
Not even square up, but we got, now you talk about man conversations. You gotta have a real conversation. Like, what the is going on? You can't keep MJ the GOAT this day and LeBron is the GOAT better than MJ this day. Oh, 6 years later, you know what? Both of them.
Yeah.
Magic is the GOAT. Magic been the GOAT.
See, that's why Melo's my man, because Melo's a real one and he's honest. Scotty, it's not that he's dishonest, it's that he's bitter. Now, let me be very, very clear. I go off the reservation, per se, when you say you hating on somebody just because you don't believe they're the GOAT. Scottie Pippen's opinion, he's a 6-time champion. He's one of the greatest players in NBA history. He's a top 75 player of all time, one of the elite defensive players the game of basketball has ever seen. You can never take that away from him, okay? But the issue with Scottie Pippen and his opinion is that it has waffled, it has wavered, and Melo was absolutely right to point that shit out. The fact of the matter is, when you look at Scottie Pippen, years ago, MJ was the GOAT. He's on national TV. On NBA Today, if I remember correctly. On ESPN, sit up there talking about LeBron is great, but he wasn't MJ. Then you get pissed off at MJ, but LeBron is the GOAT now. Now it ain't even LeBron, it's Magic. Magic's a 5-time champion, universally recognized as the greatest point guard in the history of basketball, and was a winner. Got to 9 NBA finals and dominated the 80s. And he was Showtime, and he was a facilitator, and he was all of that. That's fine. Even Magic and Bird said, Michael Jordan told them to their face, there's a new sheriff in town. We all know what time it is. And what makes it so sacrilegious, which is what Melo pointed out, that's the cat you in the bunker with. See, we're not talking about the real when it comes to Scottie Pippen and all of this stuff. We're not talking about the real. You won 6 championships with them. Remember he retired after the first three-peat? Remember how you couldn't get it done as a member of the Chicago Bulls, courtesy, in part, of the Hugh Hollins call against you on the Hubert Davis jump shot at Madison Square Garden. I get that part, but you still didn't get it done. And then the very next year, Michael Jordan comes back. Y'all get bounced out in the second round to the Orlando Magic with Nick Anderson and those boys. But prior to that, you were kicking up your sneaker, showing the Jordan emblem on the bottom, begging them to come back. What you asking back for then? It was your team. Same team, by the way, that you got pissed at and deserted because Phil Jackson called the final shot for Tony Kukoc. Remember that? You talking about Jordan this way. Now you throwing LeBron and you saying, don't none of them matter but Magic. Could it be that you're bringing up Magic because Magic was a facilitator and you thought yourself as a facilitator? You weren't a facilitator. Even though you played point forward, you wasn't driving in the lane and dishing it out like Magic did. You were help running the triangle and you were an elite defender. But you wanted to quintessential, prototypical point guard that Magic Johnson was. So you didn't mirror his game either. Who's it going to be next, Scotty? And why is it going to be somebody else? Could it be because you're bitter? Could it be because of the last dance and you're still salty about that? Could it be because when it was time for you to get paid, even though Michael Jordan had advised you not to take the money because it was a bad contract, you didn't listen to him and then ended up being bitter and trying to hold out and all of this other stuff? Could it be because when Michael Jordan retired and you went and you took your talents to Portland that you couldn't close the deal and Shaq and Kobe put you up out of there in the Game 7? All of that happened. But you talking. Damn, I appreciate Carmelo Anthony calling it out like that. He didn't get as specific as I did, but the specifics that I threw out there is exactly what Carmelo was talking about. LeBron don't need to step to him. Like, what's this? All he's saying is that neither one of them is the GOAT to me, but LeBron's the GOAT of this generation. He just ain't the GOAT over MJ. It is what it is. My nephew Josh wanted to be in on this segment too, because you had a lot to say about it off the air. So go ahead and tell the audience what you have to say about it now.
Well, I'm on Scotty's side in a way.
What?
You heard me. And the reason why is because I got 2 questions for you, because you keep bringing up what happened when Michael Jordan retired. If Scottie Pippen retired at that same time and Michael Jordan was playing with Steve Kerr, Tony Kukoc and them, would they have won the championship?
Wrong question. The right question is 2 parts. Number 1, would Michael Jordan have quit on his team and refused to re-enter a game because Phil Jackson called the final shot for somebody else? Then answer that question.
Would Phil Jackson call the shot for somebody else when Michael Jordan was on the team?
Exactly. That's my point. No, he wouldn't have. Yeah. He would have let Jordan decide it. You know why? Because Jordan was a better offensive player than Scottie Pippen was. So Jordan would have been in a position to make a better decision. That's how John Paxson hit a game-winning shot to win a championship. That's how Steve Kerr hit a game-winning shot to win a championship. What Scottie would do naturally, Jordan would draw attention and create an opportunity for somebody else because his greatness offensively was so supreme that you expected him to take the last shot so he could defer to somebody else and make sure they had a wide-open shot. Nobody was keying on Scottie Pippen like that because Scottie Pippen didn't have that kind of offensive repertoire. So that's number 1.
When Jordan was gone and it was Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc, you're going to choose Tony Kukoc to take the last shot?
The last shot, yes. You're not saying that Scottie Pippen wasn't a better all-around player, but Tony Kukoc was a better shooter.
That's it, just shooter.
Yeah,
I'm a better offensive player.
But a last shot is a last shot. And so if they're keying on you, Tony Kukoc is a guy that you trust to make the shot. Scottie Pippen can make a play. Tony Kukoc can make a shot. don't act like you know basketball
I'm
like
saying
your
I'm not
uncle.
calling the play for Tony
I'm
Kukoc.
just
I'd have been
saying-
offended too if I'm Scottie Pippen. You're not doing that to Jordan.
Would you have refused to re-enter the game?
Is it my team or not?
Would you have refused?
No, I
Answer
wouldn't
me.
do that.
Then shut the hell up.
I wouldn't
Stop
do that.
arguing with me about this.
That's
Okay?
that's not the point.
That-
you didn't answer
that
the
is the
question.
point.
You didn't answer the question. Ask the question.
What's the question, Josh?
Would they have won if Scottie Pippen retired?
Under the same conditions, listen to me good. If the Bulls were in the same position that Scottie Pippen was in, remember, they win that series against the Knicks, they probably end up going to the finals, and then they would have played Houston. Do I believe that the Chicago Bulls could have beat the Houston Rockets? Yes. Now, again, I'm telling you, they're not a lesser version of themselves if Jordan is there instead of Pippen. That's my point to you. Whether they win or lose, they're not a lesser version. The Chicago Bulls are not a lesser version with Jordan than they were with Pippen. That ain't happening. Nobody would disagree with me on that one. That would not happen.
Michael Jordan on the Bulls in the playoffs, record is worse than Scottie Pippen's Bulls on the records without Jordan.
Excuse me. Scottie Pippen only had a couple of playoff series without Jordan.
How many
That's
Jordan
it.
had?
That Jordan and Scottie Pippen played for since the 80s with each other.
but
so
Jordan-
the 6 championships, hold on, wait. They played like 8-9 years together.
Right.
Scottie Pippen played 1 year without Jordan. So you can't compare the numbers. Stop. Let's move on to something because you sound
Yeah,
ignorant,
right.
okay? You sound ignorant, all right? That's number one. What was the other part that you was going to say about Scottie Pippen? You don't even remember.
Because you threw me.
ain't making no damn
You'll be letting
sense.
me get my points though. I can't. Ain't this my segment?
Go ahead, man. Anything else you want to say about Scottie Pippen? Because you sound
Yeah,
ignorant.
yeah, I do. I feel like between me and you're the Michael Jordan of our situation. It's cool to be Scottie Pippen sometimes. So I got this merch, and it's featuring me and you on it. Check it out. That's me, cause that was me holding. That's when Michael Jordan, had the flu or whatever. Stephen A gets sick sometime, and I ended up carrying him. So I ended up putting that on the shirt. So I got one for you. Extra large?
Goodbye, America. I see y'all. That's it for the show.